Lesson number 5, learn to play chords. Chords are the fundamental building blocks for songs. A chord is created by playing 3 or more notes at the same time. When we're learning guitar, we've got 2 hands to focus on. So we have the one chord hand or fretting hand that plays the chord shapes, and then we have the other strumming hand that plays the rhythms and has to learn how hard to hit and how many strings to hit. Once we can hear nice clean chords ringing out, we then move on to chord changes. In music, we have chord progressions. This is a sequence of repeated chords that plays throughout a song. This can be 2, 3, 4 or more chords. When we're at this stage, we should be focusing on building smooth chord changes. We start by learning open chords. These are played on the first 3 frets of the guitar fretboard, so up to fret 3 here, and they incorporate open strings, which means there's a combination of notes that you press down and notes that don't have any fingers on them at all. So this is 2 strings pressed down, but actually I'm strumming 6 strings. The first chords we are going to start with today is the E minor chord and the A*2 chords. These only use 2 fingers each, they're in the same position and they're fairly easy to change. So let's look at the E minor chord. E minor uses 2 fingers, the index finger and middle finger. We take our index finger and find fret 2, so 1st fret, 2nd fret, and we find our A string, which is the 2nd one down from the top, and we press our index finger onto the string, pressing it against the fretboard. We then bring our middle finger and put it directly underneath the index finger onto the D string, onto the 2nd fret also. So play the A string with your thumb on the picking hand and see if you can get a good sound out of that. And then play the D string. Make sure you're pressing your fingers down properly. Once we've achieved this, we strum all 6 strings. To play the A*2, we're going to take the same shape that we've got over there and we're going to move both those fingers down a string to the middle 2 strings. So our index finger is now on the D string and our middle finger is now on the G string. With our picking hand or strumming hand, we take the thumb to the A string and now we are only going to strum 5 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Learning these 2 chords will help you to get a feel for playing chords without it being too complex. So we'll practice playing E minor and then jumping to the A*2 and repeat the sequence to get a feel for what it's like to move that shape up and down. Just to gently bring both of your hands into action. Once you're comfortable with those, we can move on to our next step chords. These are very common chords, and in many songs, they are only spread over 2 frets, so you don't need to make any big stretches with your fingers just yet. The first one is an A. That's 3 fingers on the chord hand. So we have, it's much similar to the A*2. So if you want to place your first 2 fingers where they were for the A*2, index finger 2nd fret D, middle finger 2nd fret G, then we're going to bring our ring finger onto the 2nd fret of the B string and press those down. Keep them nice and squeezed together and make sure they're behind the fret wire and make sure they're all in fret 2. We're going to have to make sure they're pressed down nice and firm. And on the strumming hand, again, play from the A string downwards. The next chord we move on to is an A minor, slightly different shape. And now we have our index finger on fret 1 of the B string. We have our 3rd finger on fret 2 of the G string and our middle finger on fret 2 of the D string. And again, we strum 5 strings. Chord number 3 is an E chord, and we do for this, we move this shape up a string for each finger. So now we have our first finger on the first fret of the G string, our third finger on the second fret of the D, and our middle finger on the second fret of the A string. And for this, like the E minor chord, we play all 6 strings. Moving on to the D chord, we have a slightly different shape now, like a little triangle. Index finger, second fret G, third finger, third fret B, middle finger, second fret, high E. And with our thumb, we play 4 strings. So strum that downwards. A minor, E, and D. Take your time and concentrate on having your fingers in the correct placement on the fretboard and your wrist and thumb in the correct positions as we talked about in the previous lesson.